Mark Johnson. This is, I believe, Mark Johnson from the Montana World Affairs Council. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, John. Thank you.
Well, hey, former Ambassador Johnson. Thanks so much for calling in.
Yeah, well, thanks to you folks. You know, I've been watching the Muhammad Ali memorial services on TV, and it reminded me of a story. I actually spoke to Muhammad Ali during the Iran hostage crisis, and I don't think I've ever shared this publicly, but if you have a minute, I'd just like to share it with you and your listeners. It was probably late 79 or early 80. We were in the midst of the negotiations, which were not going well at that point, and I was working the night shift. I was the officer in charge at the Iran Working Group. Usually in those early hours, you would get calls that would correlate to the closing of bars, really, from the East Coast to the West Coast, and people would call in and vent. And you get some family members of the hostages who would call in. And then one night, I guess it was about 3 a.m., I got a call, and it was a gentleman, and he started speaking. I had the tough time understanding him at first. There was a bad connection or whatever. I wasn't used to his voice. And the more he spoke, I realized I was talking to Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champ. And so the first problem I had was, what do you call him? Didn't want to call him Ali. That was, informal, and Mr. Ali didn't sound right either. So I called him Champ, and he liked it. And what he wanted to talk about is he wanted to go to Tehran and see if he could bring about the release of the hostages. And he went at some length about why he wanted to do it. I took the position, the standard position was we don't advise Americans to go to Iran at this time. We have no way to protect them. And what I didn't say, but what I really meant was we've got 52 hostages now, and I don't think we want to get another one. I told him I'd been in Iran a couple months before the hostages, and the level of hostility towards the U.S. was just off the charts on the part of the new regime. And as we were talking, I suddenly realized, gosh, this guy, I had this irrational fear that he'd jump out of the receiver and hit me with the left-right combo and, pound me or something. But the truth is he couldn't have been more respectful and interested, engaged, and above all sincere in wanting to go. He took on board what I said, and he thanked me for my views, and I got his private phone number. I thought that was kind of neat.
Did you ever call it?
I'll get to that. Yeah, I did. I did. So I hung up, and I was just about to call one of the senior officers in the State Department and say, look, Muhammad Ali called, and I thought you should know about it. But then the phone rang, and it was his manager. You remember this guy? His name was, I think, Boudini Brown. And he said, hey, the champ call you? And I said, yes. And here's what I said. Here's what he said. He said, I'm just trying to keep a lookout for him. I just don't want him to do anything. He's very solicitous. And I got his phone number, and I thanked him, and I hung up. And then I didn't get the chance to call again because the phone rang one more time, and it was Muhammad Ali's lawyer. And he said, did my client, Mr. Ali, call you a few moments? I said, yes, he did, and told him what he said, and so forth. I did not get his phone number. So I called a very senior officer, and I explained what had happened. I explained what I said and why I said it, and he agreed with me. And so I called Muhammad Ali back, and, his private phone. I don't have the number anymore, but I had it for a while. And the whole point of this is that this guy was really quite sincere in wanting to do the right thing, I guess I would say. And I just thought I'd share that with you all as we look at these memorial services that are unfolding.
Well, it's a fascinating perspective. Thank you so much for giving that, and also I want to thank you especially for being willing to call in just on Open Phones Day. It's people like you that use radio in Montana that make this program so cool. So. Well,
likewise. What you guys are doing is just really wonderful in helping the state and helping the community, grapple with these global affairs, and I can't tell you how important that is.
Now, speaking of global affairs, and since you're on the radio, I want to tie you into my last topic real quick. As a former ambassador, I know you have touchy situations with foreign countries. When someone says that America is an exceptional country, does that make you wince, or does that make you agree or disagree, or what do you feel about that statement?
When I hear that, it's usually mentioned with scorn and in a disdainful way, And, for the last 40 years, the Europeans have loved to use that, "Oh, you American cowboys," Ronald Reagan in particular, and was always an object of their scorn. And that's not changed, and it's not going to change now with no matter which person is elected. And so what I say is, okay, who did more to defend your security? Who did more to promote your economic progress, your growth? And who asked for the least amount in return? And I remember, and I'd always mention this, Colin Powell said, all we want is a plot of land to bury our dead. And that was about it. We didn't colonialize anybody. Did we make mistakes? Yeah, and I made my share of them. But at the end of the day, who else are you going to call? It's like Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call? And the danger with today's world is that probably the most, I think, dangerous word, and especially in the Middle East, which I follow closely, is vacuum. Somebody will fill that vacuum, and that somebody will not be benevolent. I mean, we turned our back once, and we got the Taliban in Afghanistan. We took our eye off it again, and we got Al-Qaeda. And now we've got ISIS going back into Afghanistan or reestablishing itself. So if there's somebody else out there that would like to play the role, and there's Russia and there's Iran, and there is probably the most dangerous force now, which is ISIS and the other jihadists. So that's how I would handle the question. But it's a good point.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for your point and your time. I got to go to a break, and we got other people. It's open phone, so I got to let other people in on the phone.
Okay, John, Greg, and Catherine, thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
You have a great day.